I'm about to share with you the hardest leadership lesson I've ever learned, and I learned it in combat. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be strict with yourself and be tolerant with others." Now, let me tell you an old war story. When I first went into Baghdad, Iraq, as a brand new second lieutenant, new to the Army, new to leadership in general, I immediately inherited 30 men that I was responsible for. And not only was I responsible for leading those men, I was responsible for leading them into battle. Now, I had a second in command, and he was fantastic. He was the most professional soldier that, to this day, I think I ever experienced in the military. He knew his job. He was physically fit. He was respectful, on time, diligent. He was everything that you would hope you would have in a second in command. Now, after about 3 months of operating, it was clear that Al-Qaeda was going to be a formidable opponent. They were well equipped and they were well manned throughout all of the sector. Their weapon of choice was the roadside bomb. And the hard thing about the roadside bomb is when it is effective, you never saw it coming. They would hide it in a pile of trash. They would hide it in an old broke down car. They would hide it in the street. They would actually melt down the asphalt and put it in the asphalt so that you drove right over it and it would blow up on you. And that created a lot of stress with the soldiers. When you could lose your life at any second and you never even would see it coming, you never had the chance to fight it out. It just happened to you. That causes a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty causes stress. Now, the first to fall through this stress was my second in command. And I noticed it coming because he started to argue with me over the radio. And this wasn't this gentleman. He was the most professional soldier I had. There's no way in a normal environment that he would argue with me. And so like any leader would have done, I'd say, "Hey, look, Sergeant, I can tell that you're stressed out. Why don't you take a day off?" And he quickly took it. And so we took him all the way back to the big base. Day to day, we lived in the city. The big base had more comforts that I wanted him to experience in his day off. So, get a hot shower, eat a hot meal, sleep in an actual bed. And so we took him back and we went and operated for another 24 to 36 hours. Now, at the agreed upon time, we came back to pick him up. I didn't want to be leading my platoon without my second in command day in and day out. I needed him with me. When we showed up, he wasn't there. And again, it wasn't like this soldier to argue with me over the radio, but it wasn't like him to not show up to a specific place and time that we designated. So I went to go find him. I knew something was wrong. And when I walked in, I saw one of the most horrific things that a leader could see. One of their soldiers just crippling under the pressure. He had pulled out all of the hair at the front of his head. He had pulled out his eyelashes and his eyebrows. And it looked like he had been smoking ever since I dropped him off. Quickly broke down when he saw me, and he said, "Sir, I can't do it anymore." And again, like any leader would have done, I went to him and said, "Hey, you don't have to." And I embraced him, and I told him I loved him, and then we found someone that could help him. And they medically discharged him and ultimately took care of him, but I had lost that soldier. He was the first casualty that I had in combat. At that moment in time, I learned that every person, no matter their intelligence, no matter their capability, no matter who they are and the experience they have, every person has a limit to their endurance. And just because you have a high endurance level doesn't mean that everybody that reports to you is going to have that same level. And it's actually unfair for you as a leader to demand the same amount of endurance from another person that you demand from yourself. Every person has their own level, and you need to know that level, and you need to see it, and you need to ask about it, and you need to invite them to share with you when they're reaching that max. Now, I'm not saying don't have a high standard. Have a high standard for your team. What I'm saying is you need to show that you love your team by understanding where they're at, by making sure that they know that you value them more than you value the task at hand, and that the standard that you have for yourself and the expectations that you have for yourself are for yourself. And for them, you have a different set of expectations and standards that relate to who they are, the position they hold on your team, and what their capability is. And that requires you as the leader to not only know your team and your teammates, but also to love them. And in that love, you need to show them grace. Grace is the key here. The more grace you can have on the inside of you, where you would allow someone to do a great job, even when it's not to the level that you would do it, the better you're going to be as their leader and the healthier they're going to be. And the healthier they are, the more they'll step up for you. But just understand, you should continue to seek self-mastery in yourself. You should keep your personal standards high. You should always push yourself to be better. And you should do that for others too. But you need to do it with love, with understanding, with compromise, and with patience and grace. So let me ask you a question. Do you know how much endurance you have for each person on your team? Are you leading each person to their own standard, their own expectations, based on their role and their capability? If you're not, then I would strongly encourage you to figure out how you can put those systems in place for yourself as the leader to know what you need to know about your team so that you can lead them with love. And if you like this content, please subscribe to our channel so that you can get more of it. But we would love to hear your answers to that question. So comment below, like, and share with your friends.